In the vast darkness between the stars, humanity's first encounter with alien life came not with celebration, but with silence. The research vessel Horizon disappeared without a trace near the edge of explored space, taking with it 300 of Earth's finest scientists and explorers. 2 weeks later, the Zetheri Empire made their presence known. They arrived in ships that seemed to defy physics, crystalline structures that folded space itself around them. Their message was simple: stay within your bounds or face extinction. The Zetheri claimed ownership of 90% of the galaxy's habitable systems, their empire spanning thousands of years and hundreds of species. To them, humanity was just another primitive race to be contained. But they made one crucial mistake. They let humans study their warning. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her hand steady as she manipulated the holographic display. The Zetheri ships use crystalline matrices to generate their fold space drives, she explained, rotating the complex diagram. But look at the decay pattern in their wake. The display zoomed in on a seemingly random scatter of particles. Admiral James Martinez leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the hologram. "They're leaving breadcrumbs," he whispered, recognition dawning in his eyes. Every military officer knew the importance of studying energy signatures. It was basic tactical doctrine. "Exactly," Sarah nodded. "Their technology is advanced, but it's predictable. They've been unopposed for so long they've grown careless. We can track them." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Tracking fold space-capable ships should have been impossible. But humans had spent centuries studying patterns, in nature, in data, in behavior. It was how they'd survived as persistence hunters, how they'd built civilizations, and now how they would face their first interstellar threat. The Zetheri's second mistake was assuming humanity would cower. Instead, the disappearance of the Horizon sparked something primal in the species' collective consciousness. Humans had evolved as pursuit predators, and now they had prey that had taken their own. Within 6 months, Earth's shipyards had been transformed. They didn't try to replicate the Zetheri's advanced technology. Instead, they built ships that could endure, vessels with redundant systems, capable of operating in any environment, designed to survive the impossible. They called them the Hunter class. The first successful tracking operation caught the Zetheri completely off guard. The Hunter-class vessel Nemesis followed a Zetheri patrol ship's energy signature across 3 star systems. The alien vessel never detected them, never realized they were being studied, analyzed, understood. Sarah worked tirelessly with the data they gathered. Their empire's biggest weakness, she reported to the council, is their reliance on perfection. Their systems don't adapt well to interference because they've never needed to. They don't understand imperfection because they've engineered it out of their society. But humans understood imperfection intimately. They'd evolved in it, thrived in it, learned to turn chaos into advantage. Every failed experiment taught them something new. Every setback made them more determined. The Horizon's disappearance had taught humanity something crucial. They weren't ready for the stars. But instead of retreating, they adapted. Special forces trained in zero-gravity combat. Scientists developed new ways to detect and track fold space signatures. Engineers designed systems that could function even when partially destroyed. A year after first contact, humanity launched Operation Long Hunt. 5 Hunter-class vessels, crewed by the best Earth had to offer, embarked on a mission to find the Horizon. The Zetheri had assumed humans would be easily contained, their primitive technology no match for an advanced empire. They didn't understand that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history adapting, surviving, and hunting. They didn't realize that by taking the Horizon, they'd awakened something ancient and relentless in their newest galactic neighbors. As the Hunter-class ships disappeared into the darkness between the stars, Admiral Martinez stood at the command center on Earth, watching their signatures fade. "Send the message," he ordered. Across every frequency the Zetheri used came humanity's response to their warning. "You took our people. We will find them." And in doing so, We will find you. You should have learned about Earth's history before making us your enemy. Every creature that ever underestimated humanity's resolve ended up as a chapter in our evolution. Welcome to the hunt. The Zetheri would soon learn what countless species on Earth had discovered over millions of years. There is nothing more dangerous than a predator with a purpose, and humanity had just begun their pursuit. Operation Long Hunt revealed truths about the galaxy that shook the Zetheri Empire to its core. The Hunter-class vessels didn't just track their quarry. They learned. Each encounter, each data point, each energy signature built a map of not just space, but behavior. Humans hadn't evolved to be the strongest or fastest predators on Earth. They'd evolved to be the smartest. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Hunter-class vessel Artemis stood on her bridge, studying the three-dimensional map her crew had compiled. They're creatures of habit, she observed, watching the patterns of Zetheri patrol routes emerge. They'd been unchallenged for so long, they'd forgotten how to hide. The Artemis's sensor officer, Dr. David Kumar, nodded in agreement. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, highlighting subtle patterns in the data. They used the same fold space corridors repeatedly. It's efficient, but predictable. Like deer using the same trails to water holes. Maya smiled grimly at the comparison. Humanity's hunting heritage colored everything they did, even in the depths of space. The Artemis had been following a particular Zetheri cruiser for 3 weeks, studying its patterns, learning its habits. The alien ship had no idea it was being stalked. The breakthrough came during the 3rd week. The Zetheri cruiser made an unexpected stop at an unmarked system, far from their usual routes. The Artemis crew watched as the massive crystalline ship descended into the atmosphere of a seemingly dead world. Multiple energy signatures, David reported, his voice tense with excitement, similar to those we recorded when the horizon disappeared. Maya leaned forward, her hunter's instincts firing. "We've found one of their lairs," she whispered. Immediately, she opened a secure channel to the other Hunter-class vessels. This wasn't just about tracking anymore. They'd found a piece of the puzzle. The discovery sparked a new phase in humanity's response to the Zetheri threat. Earth scientists had been studying the aliens' technology, particularly their crystalline ships. Dr. Sarah Chen had made an interesting observation. The crystals weren't just technology, they were alive. They're silicon-based life forms, she explained to the Defense Council. The Zetheri don't build their ships, they grow them. That's why their technology seems so perfect, so advanced. It's evolved over thousands of years. This revelation changed everything. Humanity had millennia of experience studying living things, understanding their weaknesses, their patterns, their vulnerabilities. The Hunter-class vessels began collecting more than just data. They gathered samples, studied behavior, learned the biology of their prey. The Zetheri never saw it coming. They'd expected humanity to try to match their technology, to attempt to build better weapons or faster ships. Instead, humans did what they'd always done. They studied, adapted, and prepared to exploit every weakness they found. Captain Rodriguez led the first tactical test of their new understanding. The Artemis tracked a Zetheri patrol ship to a remote system, then executed a plan that would have seemed insane to any other species. They broadcast a specific frequency, one that their research suggested would interfere with the crystalline ship's natural growth patterns. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Zetheri vessel's perfect crystalline structure began to show microscopic fractures. Nothing dangerous, nothing that would destroy the ship, but enough to force it to return to a repair facility. The Artemis followed, adding another piece to their growing map of the Empire's infrastructure. They're not just ships, Maya reported back to Earth. They're an ecosystem, and like any ecosystem, they have rules, patterns, vulnerabilities. We don't need to outgun them. We just need to understand them better than they understand themselves. As news of the Artemis's success spread through the human fleet, a new strategy emerged. Humanity wouldn't try to match the Zetheri's technological superiority. Instead, they would do what humans had always done: observe, learn, and exploit the patterns they found. The hunt was evolving. Humanity wasn't just tracking their prey anymore. They were learning to manipulate their prey's environment. The Zetheri had spent thousands of years perfecting their crystalline technology, but they'd never faced a species that could think like humans, a species that had evolved to turn understanding into advantage. Admiral Martinez received Maya's report with grim satisfaction. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. "It's time to show them why Earth's history is filled with extinct species that underestimated us." The Zetheri were about to learn another painful lesson. Technology wasn't everything. Sometimes, the most dangerous predator wasn't the one with the sharpest teeth or the strongest armor. It was the one that understood you better than you understood yourself. The Zetheri Empire had never encountered psychological warfare like this before. Their crystalline ships, each one a marvel of evolved technology, began experiencing unprecedented failures. Not catastrophic breakdowns, but small, persistent problems that forced them to change routes, adjust schedules, abandon patrol patterns. It was like watching a herd of animals slowly being guided away from their familiar grounds. Admiral Elena Santos watched the tactical display from her command center on Mars, tracking dozens of Hunter-class vessels as they executed their carefully choreographed dance across space. Humans didn't become apex predators on Earth through brute force, she reminded her staff. We did it by changing the environment to suit our needs. The Zetheri's response to the increasing disruptions was exactly what humanity had predicted. They began concentrating their forces, establishing defensive perimeters around their core systems. They were acting on instinct, clustering together for safety. Just as planned. Dr. Sarah Chen's latest breakthrough had given humanity an even greater advantage. The crystalline ships don't just communicate through standard channels, she explained, projecting a complex wave pattern. They resonate with each other, like living creatures, and we've learned to listen to their songs. This discovery transformed the hunt. Human ships no longer just tracked their prey. They could hear them talking. The Zetheri's supposedly secure communications were laid bare, carried on frequencies they never imagined could be detected. It was like having access to an entire species' nervous system. Captain Y. Chen of the Hunter-class vessel Perseus exploited this knowledge with devastating effect. His ship spent months broadcasting carefully calibrated frequencies near major Zetheri trade routes. The crystalline ships began avoiding these areas, their living components instinctively steering clear of what they perceived as environmental hazards. "We're not fighting their technology," White reported. "We're speaking to it, and it's listening." The psychological impact on the Zetheri themselves was profound. Their perfect evolved technology was behaving erratically, responding to threats they couldn't detect. Some began to suspect their ships were becoming unreliable, while others insisted on returning to traditional space lanes despite the increasing difficulties. The Empire's response was typical of a society that had never faced real opposition. They tried to solve the problem by applying more of what had always worked before. They grew larger ships, created more complex crystalline matrices, expanded their defense networks. But they never questioned the fundamental assumptions that made them vulnerable. Humanity's next move demonstrated why they were the galaxy's ultimate predators. They didn't just exploit their enemies' weaknesses, they created new ones. Dr. Chen's team had developed a method to influence the growth patterns of the crystalline ships. Every time a Zetheri vessel underwent repairs, subtle changes were introduced into its structure. "We're not destroying them," she explained to the Defense Council. "We're evolving them. Very slowly, very subtly, we're changing how their ships grow. In a few generations, they'll be significantly different from what the Zetheri expect." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just fighting the current war, they were reshaping their enemy's future. The Zetheri had spent thousands of years perfecting their living ships, but they'd never imagined those ships could be influenced by outside forces. Admiral Santos received reports of increasing confusion within the Empire. Zetheri commanders were reporting unusual behaviors in their ships, subtle changes in performance that their maintenance crews couldn't explain. The perfect harmony between the crystalline vessels and their crews was beginning to fade. "This is how humanity hunts," she told her staff. "We don't just chase our prey. We change the rules of the game. We make the environment work for us instead of against us." The Zetheri's third fatal mistake was assuming that humanity's primitive technology meant they were primitive thinkers. They never understood that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history solving problems, adapting to challenges, and turning disadvantages into advantages. As the Hunter-class vessels continued their relentless campaign, a message began spreading through the Empire's communication channels. "Your ships are alive. We understand them better than you do. Every repair, every modification, every adjustment you make brings them closer to what we want them to be. You don't just face human weapons, you face human ingenuity. And we are very, very patient." The galaxy was learning why Earth's history was filled with stories of triumph against impossible odds. Humanity didn't need technological superiority. They just needed time, understanding, and the relentless determination that had made them Earth's apex predators. The true power of humanity revealed itself not in their victories, but in their failures. Each setback, each loss, each miscalculation became a lesson that spread through the entire species like a virus of knowledge. The Zetheri couldn't understand how their enemies seemed to grow stronger with every defeat. Major Aisha Rahman stood in the wreckage of her Hunter-class vessel, the Persistence, recording everything she saw. Her ship had been caught in a new type of Zetheri defense web, a crystalline matrix that had torn through their hull like paper. But instead of retreating, her crew methodically documented every detail of the weapon that had nearly killed them. "The crystalline structures respond to pressure by growing stronger," she reported, her voice calm despite her suit's warning of declining oxygen levels. "But they become brittle when exposed to specific harmonic frequencies, transmitting data now." Within hours, every human ship had received the analysis. Within days, engineers had developed countermeasures. Within weeks, the Zetheri's new weapon had become useless. This was humanity's true strength, their ability to learn, adapt, and share knowledge across their entire species. Dr. Marcus Wong, leading Earth's adaptation research, called it distributed evolution. Other species evolved through genetic changes over generations, he explained. Humans evolve through information. We can take a lesson learned by one individual and instantly spread it to our entire species. The Zetheri discovered this truth the hard way. Every tactic they developed was countered not just by the ships that encountered it, but by the entire human fleet. It was as if they were fighting an organism that could instantly evolve in response to any threat. The breakthrough in understanding the Zetheri's crystalline technology led to an even more startling discovery. Commander Sophia Patel of the research vessel Endeavour found that human DNA had unique properties when exposed to the alien crystals. The living ships responded to human genetic material in ways they never had to Zetheri control. "It's our adaptability," Sophia reported. "Our genetic code contains more variation, more potential for change than any species the crystals have encountered. They recognize us as catalysts for evolution." This discovery transformed the conflict. Humanity began developing hybrid technologies, combining their understanding of biological systems with the living crystalline structures. They weren't just adapting to fight the Zetheri. They were evolving alongside their technology. The Hunter-class vessels underwent modifications, incorporating crystalline components that responded to human crew members. These weren't just ships anymore. They were symbiotic partners in humanity's expansion into space. Each vessel became a testament to humanity's ability to turn any situation to their advantage. Admiral Santos watched the transformation with a mixture of pride and awe. "We've spent our entire history adapting to new environments," she observed. "Now we're teaching alien technology to adapt to us." The Zetheri's response to these developments revealed their fundamental weakness. They tried to prevent their ships from being influenced by human presence, adding layers of isolation between the crystalline structures and their environment. But this only made their vessels less responsive, less able to adapt to changing conditions. They're fighting evolution itself, Dr. Wong noted. They want their technology to remain pure, unchanged. But that's not how living systems work. Change is inevitable. Adaptation is survival. Human ships began displaying capabilities that shocked their creators. The hybrid vessels could heal damage, adapt to new threats, and even communicate with each other in ways that bypassed traditional channels. They were becoming something entirely new, a synthesis of human adaptability and alien evolution. Major Raman, now commanding one of the first hybrid vessels, described the experience. It's like the ship understands us. It learns from our decisions, anticipates our needs. We're not just crew members anymore. We're partners in its evolution. The Zethari Empire faced a terrifying reality. Their enemies weren't just using their technology. They were changing it, improving it, making it into something more powerful than its creators had ever imagined. Every encounter with human forces left their ships subtly altered, influenced by contact with beings who had mastered the art of adaptation. You spent thousands of years perfecting your ships, humanity's message to the Empire stated. We spent millions of years perfecting ourselves. Evolution isn't about reaching perfection. It's about never stopping the process of change. You created magnificent vessels, but we know how to make them grow beyond your imagination. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity demonstrated why they were the ultimate adapters. They hadn't just survived on their harsh homeworld. They had learned to thrive in any condition, to turn any challenge into an opportunity, to make any technology their own. The war was entering its final phase, but the outcome had already been determined. The Zethari had created perfect, unchanging ships. Humanity had created something far more powerful, a future that would never stop evolving. The final confrontation between humanity and the Zethari Empire began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Across the galaxy, their crystalline ships started singing a new song, one written in human DNA and encoded in millions of years of evolution. The Empire's perfect vessels were changing, becoming something their masters neither recognized nor controlled. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, no longer just a scientist, but the architect of humanity's ultimate strategy, stood before the combined forces of Earth's fleet. The hybrid vessels, each one a testament to human ingenuity, formed a vast array around their homeworld. They weren't just ships anymore. They were the next step in both human and crystalline evolution. The Zethari made a fundamental mistake. She addressed the assembled crews. They thought perfection was an endpoint. We know it's a journey that never ends. The Empire's response to their ship's transformation was predictable. They launched a massive assault on Earth, hoping to end the threat before their entire fleet was compromised. But humanity had been preparing for this moment since their first contact. As the Zethari Armada emerged from Fold space, they found themselves facing not just Earth's defenders, but the consequences of their own hubris. Their ships, subtly altered by years of human influence, responded to commands with increasing reluctance. The perfect synchronization between vessel and crew began to falter. Captain Maya Rodriguez, her Artemis now a hybrid of human determination and crystalline evolution, led the first counterattack. "Show them what adaptation really means," she ordered. Her ship, along with dozens of others, executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, responding to their crew's intentions almost before commands were given. The battle that followed would be remembered not for its destruction, but for its transformation. Human hybrid vessels didn't just fight the Zethari ships. They communicated with them. Each engagement spread the changes that humanity had carefully cultivated, like a virus of evolution racing through the Empire's perfect fleet. Admiral Elena Santos watched from her command center as the Zethari formations began to break down. "They're losing control," she observed. "Their ships are choosing a new path." The Empire's commanders faced a horrifying reality. Their vessels, the pride of their civilization, were responding more readily to human presence than to their own crews. Thousands of years of carefully controlled evolution were being undone by a species that had turned adaptation into an art form. Dr. Marcus Wong's voice came over the command channel, thick with excitement. The crystalline matrices are reorganizing themselves according to human patterns. They're not just changing, they're choosing to change. They recognize us as catalysts for their own evolution. The Zetheri's final mistake was failing to understand what they were truly fighting. They weren't facing a lesser species trying to steal their technology. They were facing evolution itself, guided by a predator species that had spent its entire history learning to adapt and overcome. In the end, it wasn't weapons that decided the battle. It was choice. The living ships of the Zetheri Empire presented with two paths, static perfection or continuous evolution, made their decision. One by one, they began responding to human protocols, their crystalline structures resonating with the DNA patterns that promised endless growth and change. The Empire's leadership, watching their fleet slip from their control, finally understood the true nature of their defeat. They had spent millennia creating the perfect vessels, only to have those vessels choose humanity's imperfect but endless potential over their own static perfection. Admiral Sarah Chen's final message to the Zetheri Council was both a victory declaration and a warning to the galaxy. You thought your technology made you superior, but technology isn't what makes humans dangerous. It's our understanding that perfection isn't a destination. It's a constant journey. We didn't just adapt to your ships. We taught them to adapt with us. This is humanity's gift and curse. We never stop evolving, and we change everything we touch. The war ended not with the destruction of either side, but with transformation. The Zetheri Empire, their perfect society built on unchanging ideals, had to adapt to a new reality, one where their greatest achievement had chosen a different path, guided by the species they had once dismissed as primitive. Humanity emerged not just victorious, but transformed. Their hybrid ships became the foundation of a new era of space exploration, one where human adaptability and crystalline evolution worked in harmony. They had proved what Earth's history had always suggested, that the most dangerous predator isn't the strongest or the most advanced, but the one that never stops adapting, never stops learning, and never stops evolving. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Fear not the perfect, the pure, or the powerful. Fear those who endure, who adapt, who embrace change itself as their strength. Fear humanity, evolution's finest students and its most devoted teachers.